All right, welcome back. As promised, I'm a man of my word. Here's your mock draft. But I wanted to do things a little bit differently because some of you have said, how are you going to keep up this many mock drafts? Well, the reality is you could do infinite mock drafts, especially with this year's draft class and our needs. But I want to go over where the ideal drafting spot for the Bears is and why. And why I'm a big fan of the trade down this year. So let's move this up a little bit so you can still see me when I bring myself sideways. Let's bring me to the front, or that to the front. I'm just here in the background, guys. I'm just here in the background. Let's move this over here. What up, Bear Down? Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to go over the ideal spot for the Bears to pick, and then we'll do a full mock draft. It's not going to be a long one where I go in depth about each of the players, but I think this will be more informative, and I think some of you guys will like this stuff, my process as I go through this. So after Monday Night Football's game, this is where things stand. I use my little logo as a pointer. Here's the standings for everyone right now per conference. This is laid out in conference, and this is the draft order where it stands right now. So the Bears are, we got to bring this to the front. Bring it to the front. All right. So the Bears are drafted 9th now, and that very well could change. The Bears are on a 7-game losing streak, and other than the Raiders tanking, I don't know if any of these guys are really tanking right now. I don't know if anybody else is in the position, and it kind of felt, I'm just saying, it kind of felt like the Bears were tanking a little bit. It did against the Niners. I think we all expected that to be a better team than it was. I'm not saying we are, guys, but it kind of felt like it. So I never root against us. I'm never going to root for the Bears to lose, especially with our 3 division rivals coming up and the Seahawks labeled in between there. I'd like to see us win every game, but if we lose, and we lose every game, there is some perks that come from that, especially in this draft. So here is the projected draft order, and then here are the projected players that fall into those slots. So this is according to NFL Mock Draft Database. It's just one of many sites, but it actually has a pretty good hold on where players should get drafted. It compiles a lot of mock drafts together and takes a lot of professionals into consideration. So Travis Hunter, first overall, Shadur Sanders, Cameron Ward, Tatura McMillan, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, and I've kind of highlighted some of the ones to me that are perfect fits for the Bears, okay? So Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, James Pierce, Ariante Irsay, Walter Nolan, Wyatt Millum, Nick Emanwari, Jack Sawyer. And you can see there's other players in here too, like Shamar Stewart or Kenneth Grant. And some of you might be like, why aren't you including those guys? Tyler Booker, Jonah Salvinera, Deion Walker, Tyleek Williams. And I go through a process with every one of these players, and I'm not going to go through every position and show that today. But as we get into the next ones, up to this is like the first 2 days, round 1, 2, and 3. Some of the players that I think fit perfectly: Princely, Josh Connerly, Donovan Iziruaku. I can't say half these guys' names. T.J. Sanders, Xavier Watts, Gray Zabel. Like, these guys fit to me what the Bears should be targeting and have high on their list over some other players that maybe people think should be higher too, like even Mike Green. A lot of you guys like Mike Green and what he's been doing. Emory Jones, Caleb Johnson at running back. I like Caleb Johnson. That's just way too high for me to pick a running back. So I'm going to show you why, though. So here is just a couple of them that I do, and I think this will help answer some questions when I say this is a defensive line heavy class. Here's your defensive interiors in the top 3 rounds as it's projected right now. And you guys know I do my own little rating scale. I compile all this stuff together. Certain things are red, certain things are blue. Blue is good, red is bad. Here's the defensive ends for this class down here. Look at all these edges in this class in the top 90-ish to 100 picks. Look at how heavy this class is in defensive end. So when everyone's been talking about this is a defensive end heavy class, this is why. And then you look at the weight of these guys too. Last year, it was hard to find guys above 250, 260, 270. And that was one of the biggest knocks on Austin Booker. He needed to stay in college one more year, develop, gain some more weight, and come back. Look at these guys, though. Abdul Carter, 260. Nick Scourton, 280. Mikael Williams, Princely Uman-Mielen, Jack Sawyer, Landon Jackson, Shamar Stewart, 290, 280, 260, 270, 275, 285, 295, 275, 265, 285, 260. This is a big class for defensive ends. There's going to be options here. And there's some that I like more than others. You can see the blue. These are things that you look at. James Pierce Jr., 0 missed tackle percentage with the high PRP and a high win rate. A low sack hit. Sack hit hurry is my own metric for those who are new to the channel. How many plays between getting a sack hit or a hurry? So a pressure. It's just another way of saying a pressure. How many plays between a pressure of any kind? 4.48. It's absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, that's freaking rare. Mike Green, 5.43, but misses more tackles. So you can see some of my concept as I go through here and gauge the guys that I want. And then you take this and you start watching tape on these guys, and it makes me... last year at this time, I started putting out some videos because the Bears, again, sucked. So I start doing that this time of year where I start saying, okay, here's some of the guys that I'm highlighting, some of the guys that I would like to be Chicago Bears, and it sucks that we're here, but this is the process that I go through in it. So if we look at last year's draft, I'm not saying I want to go back, not saying I want Jane Daniels. If you guys follow me, you know that I like Caleb Williams. This is last year's video. Took a screenshot. This is from last year. One of my mock drafts right before the draft. What if we traded down? Why do we want the haul? Well, you get a pick, you get an extra pick, you get 2 more picks, you get a haul for moving down one spot to get Jaden Daniels. We don't even know if the Commanders would have traded up. We don't. This is hypothetical, theoretical, but here's the concept of it that's important. Getting those extra picks for the Bears, and there's several reasons for this. Number one, we have to rebuild the trenches hard. We have really got to get multiple players in this draft class, and that's on top of hitting free agency. We've got to get multiple defensive tackles, multiple defensive ends, offensive interior, offensive guard, tackle. We've got to get tons of trench guys. Right now, we're sitting on 8 picks. And this is a really good draft class to have 8 picks, 9 picks, 10 picks, because it's deep. You can get some of these guys later at edge in second, third round that in last year's draft class would have had to get at the late first, early second. So it's a really good situation for the Bears to be in. So as I look at that and look at the concept of it, this is the Rich Hill draft chart. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that or not. There's a Jimmy Johnson trade value chart as well. I go over a lot of this in my video. I know a lot of people don't want to get into the nerdy stuff of this, but this kind of shows, this has the Bears at 10. They hadn't updated it. But if the Bears are at 9, that first round pick's worth $13.50. And unless your pick is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or teams are going to be trading up and overvaluing, then you're not going to get far and above it, but you will get some value for teams trading up. You'll get a little kicker. And so a lot of people say that when we're trying to do trade downs from 9 right now. They say, well, the Bears came up and traded for Justin Fields, and they gave up a haul. Well, we did. We gave up way too much to come up and do that. But we had to convince the Giants to get out of that draft pick. And so we way overpaid for that. And that's what you do if there's a quarterback that fell that wasn't supposed to fall. I mean, if that happens this year, to all the way to 9, and the Bears are picking at 9, and then they have someone that's willing to come up, they could get an overvalue. Maybe we can get this plus a future second rounder, plus a future first rounder. Who knows? But as it sits right now, the value of this is that the Bears could trade down from 9 to about 19-ish, and still pick up a second and a third this draft class. And if you're thinking that's not enough because it's only $14.40 to compared to $13.50, okay, they throw in a 4th rounder next year. They throw in a 3rd rounder next year to give the kicker. That's not the point. Is we can get a lot of value in this draft class right here by trading down those 10 spots. That's huge for the Bears in this draft class where we need to build value. Another point to remember is as this team sucks, as we're 4-9, if we end up at 4-13 again, do you really think your top-end guys like Trey Smith are going to want to come to the Bears? They want to go to contenders. They want to go to the Lions. They want to go to the Commanders. They have a ton of cap space like the Bears do, but are instant contenders. So we might not be able to attract the free agent draft class that we want to if we continue to suck. The next 4 games we want to win to try to attract those guys and say, look, our young rookie quarterback, we were bringing it around at the end. We were coming around. This is a team you want to be a part of because it's growing, kind of like the Lions had a couple years ago. That's the whole appeal to bringing these guys here. But if we pulled off a trade down like this, look at what draft picks we'd have. We dropped to 19, but they have 36, 41, 51, 73, 83. Those are all day 1 and 2 picks. That would be absolutely monumental for this team to pick draft picks. The same dreaming we did last year, but this year's very realistic from where we're picking because those players right there at 9, if those top ones that we really want are gone, we can trade back. And unless Ryan Poles falls, or whoever's the GM, falls in love with one of these guys that they say is around 20 or 30, that they feel like should be at 10, you don't have to overdraft there. You can trade back for value. So you look at this, and maybe Ryan Poles does say, okay, we want James Pierce. As I showed you on the chart, he really fits everything the Bears want. Solid pressure. Gets tons of pressure. Big-bodied, good hand moves. Doesn't miss on his tackling. He's actually a really perfect fit for the Bears. But maybe they say, okay, we're okay sacrificing because of how deep this edge class is, dropping from 9 all the way down to 19 in here, and you're always going to have to grab your guys sooner than other guys get him. So for my little hypothetical mock draft, if we did that, say we pick up Walter Nolan, one of the best defensive linemen, because if you remember, there weren't as many defensive linemen that fit as there are edges. We go back to this little screen here, and you can see there's a couple that really fit. Mason Graham, I think, really fits. Walter Nolan really fits. TJ Sanders really fits. Other than that, I think you're picking at the barrel a little bit. It's a really solid defensive lineman class, but for what fits the Bears' needs, a lot of people are projecting Tyleik Williams. I really think he doesn't fit at all because of his horrible pressure rate, and he's not the best tackler. He's not the worst tackler, but he doesn't get pressure. And we have to have that pressure with our defense. We've got to get it. I know that's really small on the screen, and I'm not going to go deep into every one of these guys, but then we pick at 19, and say we pick at 36, and Wyatt Millam falls a little bit, and he might. He's an offensive tackle. He fits inside, and for guard, some of those guards are going to fall a little bit. You've got other guards going right before them. You see a couple right here. So if teams have picked their guards and other teams aren't picking guard at that point, the Bears are then picking guard, and they want to get Wyatt Millam, perfect fit for the Bears, they'd be able to get him at 36 there. So then we pick up Wyatt Millam, go to the next ones, and then we can still pick up Josh Connerly Jr., who to me is a better tackle than some of the other ones listed higher. We can pick Josh Connerly Jr. up. His biggest weakness is he's made a lot of pre-snap penalties, a lot of false starts, a lot of penalties. And then he does need to work on his anchor a little bit. I know that's going to scare a ton of people off because of Braxton Jones and everything else, but he's got a ton of upside for him. He's NFL ready right now, and he's going to be able to adapt and adjust in the NFL. He would be a starter day one. And then at 51, you could pick up Donovan Izuruwaku. I don't know how to say his name, but Donovan Izuruwaku, who is another perfect fit for the Bears. Pick up Xavier Watts, 73, safety. Xavier Watts won't last till 73, but if he did, we're picking him at 73. And then Jared Ivey, we're picking edge right here. We're getting another edge with our extra pick. So we can pick so much more value by trading down, but that's got to happen by a trade down. All right, rounding out our last, we're going to pick up a running back here because we got those extra picks, and we can do that. R.J. Harvey is a really quality pick. Cam Scatterby, I would love to have Cam Scatterby. You guys have heard about that. Riley Mills will never last this late, but if he's sitting there at 204, we take Riley Mills as another defensive lineman. Then say we trade up with our last two picks. You guys know I like these last picks for value. Jake Majors won't last here, but I'm just giving the concept of why I'm trading, or why I'm building the way that I am. Trade up, we get Jake Majors, solid center. He would be able to come in and compete or take over day one. And this is what your draft would look like because we can trade down from 9 to 19. Now, if we lose out the rest of the way, we could be picking somewhere around 5 or 6. And maybe we're picking Mason Graham, and then we aren't trading down, and then we're just picking up value for the rest of our picks. We're not getting the extra pick in there. Maybe we don't pick Josh Connerly. That's the sacrifice of not trading back. And we don't pick up our safety this early. We might have to pick up a safety in free agency, or as an undrafted free agent, or just continue to bring guys in to compete. Might be the way it has to go, but there's so many good options in this draft from defensive tackles and defensive ends. You can see in this one I picked up 2 that fit the Bears perfectly, Walter Nolan and Riley Mills from Notre Dame. Picked up 2 defensive ends, Jared Ivey, who fits the Bears perfectly, and Donovan Izuruwaku. I have no idea how to say his name. Izuruwaku. Then we've picked up 3 offensive linemen. A guard, Wyatt Millam. He's listed as a tackle. Just know his arms are super short, and everyone says he's going to move to the inside. But he is absolutely beast mode at blocking, defending the pass, anchoring, and getting out on the runs. He's one of the best in all of college football. One of the best in every aspect of the game. It's just his arms are shorter, so no one's going to want to take him as a tackle. Well, we take him early as an inside fills one of our guard needs, and he would be a starter day one. You got Josh Connerly Jr., and then you got Jake Majors, and we also filled in with a safety. So there's your mock draft. I said I'd do one every week that the Bears lose. But to me, it's more about where we're picking than anything and building that value this year by trading back. Because if the Bears are sitting here in the first round, there's really just a couple guys that hit our needs right at the top. And maybe we do lose the West Ray out and we pick here at 6. And I don't really absolutely love Abdul Carter, actually. You watch him on film. The paper, if I showed you guys here, Abdul Carter misses a lot of tackles, but it's a sacrifice for his pressure, and he's one of the best pass rushers. This doesn't show the entire picture. You have to watch Abdul Carter on tape. That's why I say it's a mixture of both things, the stats and the tape. His overall defensive grade is 90.3 for a reason. His pass rush is amazing. Gets a ton of pressure, a lot of wins. He wins a lot of one-on-one matchups. So he'd be really good. I'm not saying we wouldn't take him. He would fit us very well. All the top defensive ends in the league. He could day one compete for sure. But if we are picking that high, say we're picking 6 and we want to take James Pierce, maybe we would do trade back to 10 and get similar value. 6 to 10 is going to be about the same value as 9 to 19. So maybe we do trade back to 10 and still pick up James Pierce. And then we can get, in the second round, we can get TJ Sanders with our next pick. And then we can pick up our guards and our tackles at that point and our center. So it's just a lot of value in trading back in this draft because of how many guys fit our needs in this day one as well as day 2, day 3. Like, there's so many perfect fits for the Bears. We could trade back and hit several of these guys that fit the Bears' needs. So I just think it's imperative that the Bears do that. But they didn't listen to me last year. They probably won't listen to me this year. But that's the ideal spot for the Bears, to be able to trade back and get more value. So it's not exactly where we pick, because maybe we do take James Pierce. Maybe we do trade back all the way to 17, 18 and take Walter Nolan. It's not about exactly what spot we land in, but picking up the extra draft picks in this draft is really ideal. Right now we have 4 day 1 and day 2. A first rounder, 2 second rounders, and a third rounder. If we can trade back from our first rounder, keep a first rounder, and get an extra second and third rounder, that's ideal for this draft for the Bears because so many guys fit our needs. So let me know what you guys think. You can even let me know what you think about the mock draft if you want to, because this is I don't go in depth on this one as much as I normally do, but this would be an absolute steal of a draft for the Bears if we could pull this off. If you guys don't know who Xavier Watts is, go check into him. If you don't know who Riley Mills is, go check into him. Jared Ivey. This might give you some new names. I know that's a big reason a lot of you guys like the mock drafts that I do, is because it gives you some new names to look at. Walter Nolan's not a new name, but he just fits so perfectly. I mean, we need to walk out of this draft with one of those 3 guys on defensive tackle. We need to walk away with Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, or TJ Sanders. I mean, one of those 3 has to be on the Bears next year. And at edge, there's so many that fit. It's really just fitting in the right one at the right place. If we can get a Pierce early, if we can get Princely Umanmielen, fits the Bears perfect. If we can get one of those 2 guys and then another one later, like Jared Ivey, I mean, it's just ideal that the Bears get like 4 defensive linemen and 3 offensive linemen. And if we can trade back to get that, it's just perfect. So that's my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think of this mock draft. Let me know what you think about our positioning. We won't know till the end of the season. I'm not pulling for us to tank. I don't want us to ever lose. But I'm not going to be sad if we do, because at this point we're out of the playoffs, and I'd love to see us play really well in every game on the offensive side of the ball, because the defense sucks. Teams are like was it Cole Kmet, or was it I think it was Jonathan Owens. It was Jonathan Owens in his press conference saying how teams have tape on us now. Let me move this out of the way, make me bigger. Teams have tape on us now. That's a big reason that they keyed off on the Bears, and we don't have the top tier defensive staff right now. I mean, we don't have the best coaches on defense. They're not adjusting to the top guys in the league. So these guys have tape on the Bears. The Bears aren't going to be changing much from now to the end of the season. They're going to key off on us. So it'd be ideal for the Bears to have the offense click and get rolling, and Caleb to have 4 touchdowns a game, and Rome to have a couple, and everyone to get involved, and Cole Kmet to get involved and get things rolling, and Thomas Brown to get things rolling, and to score 35 points a game, and to lose 35 to 40 every game. I mean, it would be kind of ideal, because then we'd still get the best draft picks, but have our offense absolutely slaying it. have Caleb continue to roll along and improve and do his best. So, anyways, I drug this out. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, appreciate those who are subscribing. Channel's growing. Do appreciate you guys. Continue to tune in. We'll have lots of stuff. A lot of people are reporting on the coaches and all that stuff. That's not really my specialty. I mean, at this point, I'd love to see an offensive minded. I'd be fine with Vrabel as long as he brings the right offensive coordinator along. I'm not huge into all that stuff. I'm more into this team, building the roster, salary cap. So that's what you're going to get with me. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, Dub Bears and Bear Down.